So let's go ahead and break down all the different tools that are available for you guys to, begin building your own AI automation agency. And we'll start with stack number one, which is going to be your AI development tools. So in the previous lesson, we mentioned three different tools. We mentioned Custom GPT, BotPress, and Stack AI. I would say Custom GPT is definitely the easiest to learn out of all of them. You can simply just click the link below. I'm sure we'll link all of these below this video. But Custom GPT basically is a very, very easy way to build a custom knowledge chatbot. Probably the easiest way I've seen it done on almost any platform, but it's as simple as can be. You just upload the data that you want to feed it, or you can input the URL, which is similar to BotPress. The only difference with Custom GPT is you can actually just embed the sitemap of the website. So if you're not familiar with what a sitemap is, it basically just every single page that is connected to that domain, it will scrub all the text on all those pages and actually feed it to your model. Now, the only con that I have with Custom GPT is there's not a lot of fine tuning that can be done or refining that can be done on your chatbot. You simply just upload the data and then they output the chatbot that you can easily embed into any website. So when it comes to the capabilities of really what it can be used for at scale for a business, it definitely does lack, but there are a lot of good use cases for Custom GPT. So for example, if you're trying to get your foot in the door with a client and you have a meeting with them, why not use Custom GPT, take all their public data and information about their company and plug it in and use it as an actual demo that, that client or that lead can interact with and kind of see, what you're building and what you're trying to do. Now, I would highly recommend, using BotPress and Stack AI, but Custom GPT is really just an easy way to learn. Their pricing model is slightly expensive. Their basic model starts at like $50 a month, then 100, then 500. And $50 a month for 500 queries isn't a lot. It is slightly expensive. I bet you they may lower their price in the future, and there isn't a free trial as far as I'm concerned going through their FAQs. But for the most part, it is a very solid platform, especially if you're a beginner trying to learn. And when we get into the automation side of things here later on in a future lesson, I'm actually going to show you guys how to develop a chatbot and how we can actually plug this into some of our automation tools using Custom GPT. So there is a lot of things you can do with this, but when it comes to, really, really providing value and being able to develop off of what you build for a company, I would highly recommend using BotPress. So we'll jump into this next. So build ChatGPT chatbots surprisingly fast. Very, very true. They have a great UI, UX, and just user experience. For the most part, it's all drag and drop and just connecting nodes to one another. But there's a lot that you can do with this. They have a lot of good templates as well. We will definitely have a, future training on exactly how to use BotPress and how to tie it in with all the other automation tools that we're talking about. But it is really, really easy to just drag in exactly what you want it to do. If you've ever used some of these other chatbot builders before, like ManyChat, for example, where you can kind of control the flow that the user goes into, so like when they say hi, you respond with, hey, how can I help you today? And you show a few different options of, what they can select. And then based on what they select, you generate a different response. This really helps when controlling the flow, which is something that Custom GPT doesn't do. For example, if you are running a business and you're just trying to have a chatbot or an AI chatbot that helps collect leads, well, it's really important to know why those leads are coming to your business, where to direct them, what information you should tell them based on, whatever problem they're trying to solve. Custom GPT wouldn't do as well of a job controlling the conversation, but BotPress does a really solid way of doing that. And at the same time, too, they have a ton of integrations as well. So if you decide, Airtable is huge, which we'll jump into here in a little bit. I use Airtable for really all my automations, especially when I'm testing. But they've got Gmail, they've got Instagram, they've got Microsoft Teams, Slack, Shopify, Telegram, really everything you'd need. Zapier as well. So in a lot of cases too, when we jump into the automation, there's a lot of ways where you can use Zapier and Make, because obviously there are different applications tied to each. We typically prefer Make just because there's a lot more that you can do with Make, and it is still fairly easy to use. But BotPress already has a lot of these integrations already tied into the platform, and their pricing model is phenomenal. You have a free plan up to 1,000 messages per month, and then anything over, you can actually just use this slider to really just calculate, what the cost would be if you had like 50,000 messages or 100,000 messages. So if we actually look at the price difference here from BotPress at 50,000 messages for $250 versus custom GPT, it's significant, right? You can get a lot more bang for your buck using BotPress, as well as the capabilities at scale for a business. This is definitely probably a better chatbot solution to learn. So next, let's take a look at Stack AI. Build and deploy AI applications in minutes. This is by far the most advanced tool out of all the other ones that we covered, especially custom GPT. It is very similar to BotPress as well when it comes to layout, but it will be a more advanced learning curve for all of you. But at the same time, there is a lot more that you can do with Stack AI when it comes to capabilities, and not just building chatbots, but you can build agents. You could, solely just use, their database to, store the custom knowledge that your chatbot is going to interact with. You can actually use Stack AI and BotPress simultaneously, using BotPress for more of the simple chatbot chat interface, controlling the user flow, and then using Stack AI to really output those more advanced questions. So there's so much, honestly, that you can do with Stack AI, but it definitely is a more advanced learning curve, to say the least. Obviously, you have access to a lot more tools using Stack AI, as well as Hugging Face and LangChain. If you're not familiar with LangChain, definitely familiarize yourself, especially if you're going to start an AI automation agency. But LangChain offers a ton of different tools when it comes to these large language models, as well as you can tie in other large language models into Stack AI, not just OpenAI. So there's a lot that you can do here. They also have integrations with apps like Zapier, Airtable, Notion. As you guys can see here, there are a ton of options available for you guys. But as you can see, very similar interface to BotPress, but it really is just connecting nodes. But at the same time, you do need to understand a little bit more of how these large language models are structured to get the most out of this application. But at the same time, you can really watch quite a few YouTube videos and YouTube tutorials on how to use Stack AI, get a solid basic understanding of it. And then, when you're outsourcing your work, be able to find good Stack AI developers that can actually use the platform, and really use all its capabilities that it has to offer, because there is a lot here for you guys when it comes to fine tuning, as well as even storing your data in Pinecone, using vector databases. There is so much here. Sorry if I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible and not use too many development terms, or AI terms, but for the most part, probably the most advanced AI builder without knowing how to code. Now, the thing is, pricing is slightly expensive, especially on the monthly plan. So as I was saying before, you can actually use BotPress simultaneously with Stack AI. That will help a lot when lowering the cost for a client month over month. But using Stack AI definitely for more advanced AI builds. But for the most part, all these different platforms have their pros and cons. The only one that makes it a little bit more difficult long-term through your agency, depending on what type of businesses you are targeting, is going to be custom GPT, but it also is the easiest to use, and I highly recommend at least signing up and playing around with it. It's great, especially for lead generation. But besides that, take a look at all of these tools, play around with them, sign up. BotPress and Stack AI both have a free trial. The only one you would need to pay for is custom GPT, but I'm telling you, we'll jump into that here in a second, but it is so simple to build using custom GPT. But at the same time, again, don't stress yourself out. You don't have to be an absolute expert in all of these tools, but you do need to have a basic understanding of really how to use these tools, what the capabilities are, and being able to, communicate how these tools work um, to a client, and even vetting developers that you're going to use to do the client work. So this is a very important step, but these are the three AI tools that I would look at. Our automation tools, which is really the second thing in our AI automation agency stack. But really, I'm going to give you guys two options here. We personally like to use make.com. I feel like it surpasses Zapier in almost any way, especially the capabilities that it has. Maybe the only thing it lacks in is the amount of apps that, you know, are already kind of pre-integrated into the platform. Zapier's been around for quite a bit longer, but when it comes to, you know, just adding your own custom capabilities, Make is way better by far. So let's go ahead and go through this. So very, very simple. If you actually just watch this demo, basically you have a trigger that starts the entire automation process. And if you need a basic rundown on how automation works, basically you're taking all of these third-party apps that are all separate, have, do not work together whatsoever, and you use make.com or Zapier, and you basically tie all these apps together so they work congruently for a specific business to solve a specific problem, right? So for example, you could set up a trigger where, if I get an email from my form or my lead generation system, what happens next? Is it just sit in my inbox, which is what happens most of the time, but maybe I want it to connect it to OpenAI or ChatGPT and have ChatGPT come up with an immediate response for that customer based on, their personalized information, right? So you could set that up to where you have an email trigger, then you have ChatGPT, and then you have them respond with another, maybe it's a Gmail integration that creates an email and then sends that email back to that customer. So that's just one example, but there are unlimited examples of things that you can do with Make automations. Even when it comes to like developing software and demos, just to be able to build the back end of your application and make sure that everything works, Make.com is phenomenal. At the same time, you can jump into templates. Let's jump into use cases here. So how to make an API call with Make, how to summarize sales calls and analyze competitors with AI, how to turn blog posts into social media posts with ChatGPT. So right when a blog gets posted, you're immediately taking that image and you're using an Instagram or the Facebook integration, and then tying that in to start creating a post on Facebook based on that entire blog. And you use ChatGPT to summarize that entire blog and turn it into, a caption for your post. I couldn't even begin to cover all the different things that you can do with Make, as well as they have a ton of resources available to you as well. Their pricing model too is phenomenal. They do have a free trial, so you can go ahead and get started and start just playing around with this platform. And I'd say for operations, which is basically every app that is connected, every time your automation runs, each app is its own operation. But for 10,000 operations a month, only $10, I feel like that's a pretty good deal. But if we jump into apps and services, you can actually see, the thousands or 1,500 apps that they have available for you guys to integrate with. So you got Google Sheets, you got Airtable, which we'll jump into here in a second, Discord, Trello, Forms, you got, Microsoft Teams. Literally everything you could think about for the most part is on Make. Now, if we jump into Zapier here, pricing model is slightly more expensive. Sorry, clicked out of that really quick. But for the most part, it is very similar. It's just like any other automation tool. Zapier has been around for quite some time, so they do have, I guess, definitely some more integrations with, other third-party applications that you can use. But when it comes to really the capabilities and how you can customize it, doesn't get much better than Make. But they're in a lot of use cases too. It could just depend on the client that you're working for specifically. So if their business uses Zapier, or maybe some of the apps that they use aren't necessarily in Make, but they're in Zapier, you may just want to use Zapier instead. But for the most part, if you learn Make.com, you can easily learn Zapier. Honestly, Zapier is probably a little bit more simple. I just personally enjoy using Make. So maybe that's just personal preference, but ultimately there's really no wrong answer in this. But as you guys can see, a ton of different applications that you guys can use to begin setting up automations. You can also tie in Zapier with Make. So for example, if there is a third-party application that you know that is only available on Zapier, you can then tie that data into like Airtable and then fetch that data from Airtable into Make to run the rest of your automation as well. So options, I mean, there's really no right or wrong answer. It ultimately just depends on, what you want to use, what you feel like is easiest for you to learn and be able to talk about. And then obviously if pricing comes into a factor too, Make is definitely a cheaper option. But besides that, that's really it for automations. The only other thing that I would say sign up for is Airtable. Obviously, you can use Sheets as well, but I really just like the capabilities of Airtable. And if you're doing anything with like a Chrome extension as well, they have a really good Airtable web clipper, depending on the use cases. But I use it quite a bit, especially when testing Make automations and even Zapier automations, just to see, what outputs I'm getting from, OpenAI and tying it to Airtable, as well as tying in, the initial input that I want. I use Airtable quite a bit, especially when just building these automation solutions, which you guys will see when I actually show and break down a Make automation for you guys here in the upcoming lesson. But besides that, these are really it for your, automation tools. So go ahead, play around with both. But obviously, the automation side of having an AI automation agency is extremely important. So this is definitely a must for anybody looking to begin starting their AI automation agency. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Bubble. So Bubble.io is going to be that software development, no-code software development platform. There is, everything you can think about when developing software, Bubble has really solved. They're by far the best no-code software development solution that is out there. We actually have a course as well. It is free. Go ahead and feel free to sign up. I'm sure we'll link the description or the link down below. But Bubble is really just changed the game on developing software. Not just the fact that, that software notion that's been around for a while. If you want to develop a software, it'll take, months, even a year. You got to spend, tens of thousands of dollars hiring developers or know how to code. Bubble really just solved all of those issues. Almost everything you can think about doing, hard coding a software, you can do within Bubble and way faster. And at the same time, Bubble developers are way cheaper than if you were to, build a software application. You'd have to hire a front-end developer. You probably have to hire a back-end developer, maybe a database architect and a front-end designer. There's just a lot. And, depending on how advanced that software is, it could cost you even more. But the reason I'm saying this, obviously not all of you guys are here to build software, but it will give you the ability to offer a lot more to your clients, especially if you want to retain them over a long period of time. Building a CRM for them that can help them, compile all these third-party applications that they're using, compile them into one dashboard with an easy login. Even if you wanted to create like some sort of client portal for that business as well, using Bubble, using Make automations, this is really easy to do and really, for the most part, pretty easy to learn the basics at least. But Bubble is definitely something you guys should look into as just something that you guys can offer as an extension on top of the AI services as well as the automation services that your agency is going to offer businesses. And obviously this is kind of hit or miss depending on which industry or niche that you are targeting for your agency. But I highly recommend looking into Bubble. At the same time, this is really the future of building software. So you are using, the next generation of tools and kind of adding that to, your stack and what you can offer and what you can really build for a client. So we've actually done this multiple times. We actually, for one of our clients, they run a massive, mortgage real estate business, and they used all these third-party applications. Most of, their communication internally was happening just through emails. And honestly, it was a clusterfuck, to be completely honest. And I went to him and I was like, hey, what if we took all these different platforms that you're using, all these third-party applications, and just displayed all your data, all your sales data, all your metrics on one dashboard. And each one of, your bankers and employees can log into it. Your administrators can log into it. Your team managers can log into it, and they all see different things, and they see, the people that are underneath them or working for them. And you can kind of see everything just on one dashboard. Way cleaner. We'll set up some make automations for you too. So when you get a lead, it automatically emails or sends that lead to the right person. You can track the progress of each of those leads. And it's, a significant platform, but it didn't take much time for us to develop using Bubble, using Make, and just using some of these automation tools. So there is a ton of stuff that you can do. But when it comes to, automation tools, Make and Zapier, and definitely play around with Airtable, you're going to need to sign up for Airtable, and I'll show you that here in our demo. And then when it comes to no-code software developing applications, Bubble is by far the best. So that is really it for all the different tools that you have at your disposal, and can select which ones you want to use to develop your entire agency stack. But this is really the core of all the tools. So besides that, let's go ahead and jump into building an actual, custom knowledge base chatbot and start playing around with some make automations so you guys can actually see and grasp, how we are actually building these things out.